G'day guys and welcome back to AdosTheGreat YouTube channel. So guys, in today's video I will be going over my round 11 power rankings and yeah, hopefully you guys agree. Some of you guys will probably disagree and that's fine. Just let me know why in the comments. But a few little tweaks and changes to my last one. There's definitely some teams on the rise and some teams falling pretty hard. So let's jump straight into it, guys. Without further ado, let's go. But before we do, hit that like button and subscribe, guys. Really helps the growth of the channel and all that good stuff. All right, starting things off with 17th. It's got to be the Dragons. Has to be the Dragons. They were disappointing once again this week. And I don't think they're going to climb the ladder anytime soon. They're my favourites at the moment for the wooden spoon, and I'd be surprised if anybody disagreed with that, to be honest. Next up, the Tigers. Now, while I think the Tigers were very brave against the Rabbitohs, they still lack a little bit. They definitely lack a lot in attack. But their defense against us last week was phenomenal. So I've got to give them credit for that. But there's definitely still a lot of improvement that can be had with the Tigers. So 16th to me seems pretty fair. Pretty fair there. 15th, got to go the Bulldogs. Now, you could argue that the Bulldogs should be behind the Tigers, to be honest. But I don't know. I think there's a little bit more upside to the Doggies than there is the Tigers, especially with the fact that the Bulldogs are missing a plethora of players. I think that 15th sort of suits them a little bit better. Next up, I'm going the Parramatta Eels. Another week of disappointment, to be honest. Don't really know what's going on there with Para. I know they're not getting flogged, and they've actually got a really good for and against for where they're sitting on the ladder. So, bit of a surprise to have them at 14th, but they're just not winning games, and that's what they've got to do. They've got to start winning games. Yeah, Parramatta at 14th to me seems pretty fair. At 13th, I'm going Manly. Now, I know Manly have been in games, but they're not looking great. They're really not. Now, they came back and, nearly caused an upset against the Sharks, but I really don't think the Sharks were too concerned. They had the momentum for most of that game, and yeah, I think Manly have been really disappointing this season, and Turbo's playing like they can't say it's because of Turbo. I know he doesn't look like himself, but sit him out then. Don't play him. I don't think he gets picked for New South Wales, even if he says he's fit. I don't think he does, because you cannot tell me that a fully fit Queensland side going up against I'd say a Tommy Turbo that's not confident, they'll run rings around him. They really will. He got outrun by a bloody second rower. Like, he's not looking fit at all. 12th. There's a few teams I could put at 12th. There's obviously the Cowboys. There's the Roosters, who have been extremely disappointing. There's the Titans. I actually think I'm going to put the Roosters there. Cowboys tailed them up last week. Panthers absolutely flogged them this week. Yeah, I think 12 for the Roosters is fair. I really do. Next up, Cowboys at 11th. Definitely could be higher, but I think we still need to see a little bit more from the Cowboys. Look, they've been good the last couple of weeks. They really have, but a little bit disappointing before that, and I still need to see a little bit from them. But I do think that they can power up those rankings. Titans are next for me. They got beaten by the Knights quite convincingly. They're hot and cold this year. I think they're one of the best attacking teams in the NRL when they are switched on, but their defense lacks a lot to be desired. So 10th seems fair for the Titans. With it, one week they could be looking like a top 4 side in the power rankings. The next, they could be looking like a bottom. I think 10th for the Titans is absolutely fair. 9th, I've got the Knights. The Knights look really good against the Titans. Coming off a bye, there was a lot of media pressure against them. Some of the players, won't name names, went to Bali. Callum Ponga under a lot of pressure to perform. He did that. The Knights look really good when he's playing that style of footy, and I think 9th spot is fair for them. All right, my first team in the top 8. I've got to give it to the Warriors. Look, the Warriors looked good last week. but there were still parts that I think they need to work on. I know they've still got a fair few injuries and players to come back and stuff. So, look, they're not at full strength, so I can't really rate them on that. But yeah, look, I'm pretty confident in an 8th spot there for the Warriors. I do think that the seven teams I'm naming above them are slightly better. All right, in 7th, this is tough. I'm going to go the Dolphins. Now, this might be a little bit disrespectful for the Dolphins, but I think the 6 teams I've got above them are slightly better. So yeah, 7th spot for the Dolphins, in my opinion, is a fair spot for them. They've been outstanding this year. They really have. Coming off a bye, I wouldn't be surprised if they got an upset over the Storm. I have tipped the Storm in that one, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Finns got up. So yeah, Dolphins 7th, I think is fair. 6th spot, I've got the Raiders. They're looking really good at the moment, playing some pretty good footy. I think that they'll continue climbing the ladder. They're starting to get their confidence back, and it is good to see. All right, now I've got Melbourne Storm in 5th. I know a bit controversial because they just beat the Broncos, but the Broncos, in their defence, and to be honest, some of it was their fault. Like obviously not the Adam Reynolds going off, that was disappointing, and you can't pin them for that. But Tommy Flegler and Carrigan sin bins. Like at the end of the day, do I agree that they were sin bins? Not really, but you got to work on the discipline. You do. So I think Storm still have a lot to show, but I can't put them in the top 4 at the moment. I can't. Broncos for me 4th. They were good against Manly, weren't bad against Storm, and they did have a lot go against them, but I think these 3 teams are slightly better at the moment. Sharkies for me, if it'll let me. Number 3, last week they can pretty much forget about. I thought they were pretty good against Manly. I thought they were in control of that game the whole way through. They're probably a little bit disappointed with not putting Manly to bed earlier, but I think they played pretty well, so I think they deserve it. Number 3. Number 2, the Panthers. Some weeks they look like a team around that 5 to 6 spot. Sometimes they look like a 1st, 2nd spot. They have been slightly inconsistent this year, which is good for the Rabbitohs in my opinion. But Panthers starting to find their feet now, playing some pretty good footy, absolutely tailed up the Roosters. So I think number 2 is well deserved. And number 1, most informed team at the moment, definitely the Rabbitohs. They've won six in a row now, and they're looking amazing, knocking down pretty big names like the Panthers, the Broncos, beating the Storm, which they don't do often, beating the Dolphins team that are playing really good footy. Obviously, they beat the Tigers, which isn't that big of an upset, to be honest. But, the teams they have beaten are quality squads. So I think they deserve to be number 1. Anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up from me for the power rankings. Let me know your picks down below. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, my friends, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.